So hi, good evening. Good evening, all my guests and panelists for the evening. So we are all here joined for an exclusive launch of Abstracta by Ikaha. Before we get started with this launch webinar, I'll quickly run through what PCC is and what do we do at this platform. So I would request the backend team to please, yes, thank you. So Punjabi Chamber of Commerce is basically a platform that fosters network to the business community. Yeah. Thank you. So we are spread across 4 continents in 5 countries and 17 chapters. We were established in 2017 and we are a non-profit organization which envisions to facilitate global and local business communities with a network forum wherein they can build new connections, access informative mentorship and advocacy programs, and ultimately contribute to the overall business development. So we have a strict no religion, no politics policy in place, but we truly believe in diversity and inclusion. And I would like to also inform all my attendees for the day that membership to our forum is free as of now, and it is free for a limited period. So you can definitely go and sign up on our website right away. Next slide, please. So this is a brief outline of our outreach. We are spread across 4 continents, as I said earlier, in 17 chapters, which are mentioned here on screen. And you might be seeing GYS. GYS is one of our wings. I'll be explaining more about this in our next slide. Yes, so PCF and GYS, Punjabi Chamber Foundation and Global Youth Squad. These are 2 different wings of Punjabi Chamber of Commerce. By virtue of PCF, our only objective is to give back to the society, give back to the community, and create a legacy for next generation to grow, build, and succeed. And through GYS, our main focus, it's basically our youth wing, and we wish to facilitate the activities to provide the youth fraternity of the global youth fraternity with networking, mentorship, internships, and professional training sessions. Can we move to the next slide, please? Yes, so the one question that has so many answers in place, why should you join Chamber? So as Chamber, we help you with advocacy. The advocacy part, we speak for you. We provide you visibility like we are doing today for Ikaha. We are here for their official launch. So, and we, of course, we facilitate network to a lot many people, to our members basically, and the collated result of these all these benefits is growth, collaborated growth. Can we move to the next slide, please? Yes, so moving on to the session, the moderator of the evening is Ms. Tajinder Kaur. She is a volunteer leader, sales specialist mentor, and upcoming podcaster. She has a vast experience working on various immersive technologies such as AI, VR, and augmented. So she also carries tremendous specialization in C-level networking in technology, education, retail, cosmetics, automobiles, etc. Welcome to Jinder. Welcome to the forum. Can we move to the next slide, please?
Thank you.
Yes, speaker for the day, Vikram, the hero of Abstracta, main hero behind Abstracta. He's an accomplished cloud architect and the proud creator of Abstracta, as I mentioned earlier. So he has across 2 decades of experience and technology spectrum, in which his experience ranges all the way from building highly performant and highly available OLTP applications to operational data stores and data warehouses in one band. So you'll get to know more about Abstracta and the heroes behind the Ekaha team altogether. Over to you, Vikram and Jinder. The forum is all yours.
Thank you so much, Brinda, for this wonderful introduction.
Thank you.
Thank you, BCC, for this incredible opportunity to connect with our audience through your platform. And I welcome everybody on this webinar. I am Tujinder Kaur, who is leading sales and marketing for Rekaha. I have about 12 years technology, sales, and marketing experience in India and UK. Today, we are all gathered here to understand what is the magic behind or the secret behind Abstracta. What do we mean by data abstraction? How can we simplify your development cycle? What are the resources that can be, lessen up by using Abstracta? A question that remains in our mind while being on the digitization journey: why are we still lacking behind competition? Where is it that we can improve ourselves to come up with some better solutions? A food for thought for all of us today is by Henry Ford. If I had asked people what they wanted, they would have said fastest horses, and we all know we do not commute on horses any longer. So why do you want to develop your product without Abstracta? um, Now I'm going to quickly run a poll for all of you. I request you all to please take this poll and just fill up the answers. It's for a few seconds only. Thank you. I've ended the poll. About 55% people voted. And I am requesting Vikram Vasudevan to please take over, and he can quickly check out the poll answers as well. Thank you, Vikram. On
Thank
to
you,
you.
Teji. Thank you, Teji. Yeah. And thanks, Vrinda, for the grand introduction. And I'm really delighted to be here, especially in presence of such elite audience who have a lot of experience in doing what we do. And I just wanted to set the expectation up front when I begin this. What we are going to be presenting today is not rocket science, okay? And I'm not saying that out of humility. What I believe truly is that Abstracta will help you focus on your next rocket science app rather than focusing on APIs and data sources. That's where we really believe that Abstracta can add a lot of value. And I'm seeing that a lot of you are from large-sized organizations based on your poll responses. A lot of you are from startups as well. So, and some of you are from small and mid-size. So that's the distribution I'm observing, which is really great because Abstracta can fit into all of your organization sizes effectively with our pricing plans and the features. I'm going to give you a very quick intro about what Abstracta is. Abstracta is a data abstraction product that allows you to unify your data sources. It allows you to restify, fortify, and eventually democratize your sources. Now, in automobile parlance, it's like building a clutch or a brake or a steering versus building an air conditioning or an audio system. That's where the simplicity and the usefulness of Abstracta lies. It should be ideally be applicable everywhere, really, and that's where we would like to be in the next couple of years. Wherever you talk about APIs and data sources, we would like to be present at that point. Imagine each one of you is a data source, and you all talk different languages, right? And still being able to communicate with me effectively through a common layer. That is Abstracta for you. So just to give a layman's introduction, that is precisely what Abstracta can do for you. Before we get into the details of Abstracta, I cannot go ahead with this presentation, without introducing my team, without whose contribution Abstracta wouldn't be a possibility at all. It would have been merely an idea. The team is very professional, trustworthy set of individuals you could ever work with. Srinivas is leading our operations. Mahesh is leading our architecture, and Saharsha is leading our development. And these is only the people who are visible in the slide, but there are so many invisible well-wishers who did not want to be named, who have been very generous with their inputs, their ideas, without expecting anything in return. And this slide is an opportunity for me to say a big thank you for all such wonderful people. Coming to the agenda. So what's in the agenda today? It's very simple. It's about Abstracta, obviously. Why Abstracta? And then we cover a bit about our journey. We talk about why now. And then the benefits. I'm sure you'll be interested in how it benefits you all. We'll go into a bit of show and tell, a quick demo on some very key powerful features of Abstracta, which I'm hoping will captivate your attention. And throughout this webinar, we'll be running from time to time set of polls, and Q&As are always welcome. So keep messaging your questions in the chat box as you think of it. And Teji here would be kind enough to shout it out if there are relevant questions and run the polls for me. Thank you, Teji. So I'm moving on, having covered the agenda, having covered the team, having covered a brief background about what Abstracta is. Why Abstracta? Before we get into the question, this is poll time. Teji, would you be kind enough to initiate the poll number 2?
Sure.
What challenges do you have with APIs? That is the poll question. If you could please respond with the best of your knowledge so we can assess what you guys think about this topic. It would be really helpful for us. I see a lot of you are, at least you believe that you're spending more time on developing APIs than on solving your business problems, which is kind of expected, really. And a lot more of you are, having, lack of centralized data governance or data security options. So, yeah, a lot of this is on expected lines, really. When I talk to people about Abstracta, I get typically questions like, what exactly is the problem you're trying to solve? Why did you think of building it in the first place? Haven't others built it already? It sounds like a very simple concept. Why haven't the biggies done that? Why are you doing it? I believe that there is still a lot of scope in the API world to fine-tune things, especially having worked in this industry for more than a couple of decades. We have seen firsthand the real-time challenges that teams face. When organizations mature and when the number of data sources that they deal with increase exponentially over time, they start to feel the heat about their lack of control over all those data sources and their inability to have a consolidated data access layer. And this is precisely why Abstracta was born. We learned from our mistakes when we built applications, when we were less mature, and then we have put it all together into a nice package called Abstracta. The disparate data sources conundrum. In an enterprise system, you all know that we realize that enterprise systems are not built overnight. It evolves over a period of time. Your app matures, you add more functionalities, and you keep introducing newer and newer data sources as we go along. And one fine day when you look back, there are so many data sources and so many modules that you write to connect to those data sources without any centralized layer managing them. Right? Obviously, developers are just comfortable writing a new module, then just plugging it into your application architecture. So it seems like it is a lot easier to do that. But over time, after a few years, you realize that you have incurred a lot of technical debt that is going to cost you a lot eventually, and you do not have a centralized data governance mechanism. And there is no centralized data access layer that control access to your various data sources. And that is what we call as the disparate data sources conundrum. Every data source speaks a unique language. You have relational data sources, NoSQL data sources, columnar databases, graph DBs, messaging queues, your caching technologies such as Redis. You have storage servers, and you even have log files that send you information for log analytics. And on top of that, you have the snowflakes, the Redshifts, the Hadoop ecosystem, the big data, the data lake houses, and whatnot. There's just tremendous opportunity to consolidate here and have a singular layer that can actually talk to all these data sources as if you're talking to a single data source. That is how powerful Abstracta can. The real question is, there is so much complexities behind this architecture. So the real question is, do you want to spend time on these intricacies? Of course you can, if that's a choice you want to make as an organization. But really, is that where you want to be spending time, or you want to be spending time focusing on your core business problems? The answer to that question will determine whether you want to take up Abstracta or not, I guess. So the billion-dollar question you might have is, how am I going to maintain, create, secure my APIs effectively? And when I say effectively, with utmost efficiency at the lowest cost that you can, with a lower technical debt that you build over a period of time, at the lowest TCO that you can possibly get down to. Enter Abstracta. This is where Abstracta can be, it brings a lot of value to the table, right? It's a one-stop solution, one-stop shop for data abstraction, right? When we talk about data abstraction, we are essentially talking about abstracting away the complexities of accessing multiple disparate sources. So you, as a product owner, can focus on your business challenges and not on the APIs and the data sources. And Abstracta being a low-code, no-code B2B SaaS product, it allows you to do that with much little effort, as you will see in the subsequent slides as well as in the demo. You would see how much Abstracta is going to be helpful for your needs. Abstracta unifies, like I was saying before, it builds a data source agnostic data access layer. It breaks down your language barriers. It breaks down your barrier of semantics, barrier of complexity. It provides a single unified interface to talk to all of your data sources. Abstracta restifies, I don't even know if restifies is a word, but it felt nice to introduce it at least. RESTful web services are a very common occurrences these days in applications. But where we are lacking really is converting your data into RESTful web services without doing a lot of backend coding by our developers. Abstracta is data model aware, so it can auto-discover all your entities and relationships and all that, and it can recreate all your resources, data source resources as RESTful services on the fly without any code or any deployment. Abstractor fortifies, essentially building a data security shield around your data sources. Using data entitlements, you can configure ways and means to allow or prevent access to your data at various levels. There is policy-driven data security model. There's transparent filters that you can apply. That will allow you to execute some filters without even the user being aware of such filters being run behind the scenes. And profile-based data access control at the lowest granularity, row level, field level data security, and being able to control, view, edit, and delete access to your data sources. These are only but a few things that I can bring up at this time. but when you actually start using Abstracta, you will actually start to feel or start to relate to what I'm really talking about right now. Now, what's the point of doing all this stuff if you cannot democratize your data, isn't it? After all, data has got to be shared. It has to go somewhere. It cannot just come and sit in a data source and that's it. That's not where it ends really. That is where our event-based data subscriptions that allow easy data sharing to your end users and yet keeping the data security protocols in line. It also can be that one secure front door to access all your data sources. It can be your one data access layer, not necessarily through APIs only. You can use this as you can access your data sources through various channels, which we'll be covering in subsequent slides. There are many channels through which you can access your data sources. It's more like a virtual layer. It does not have a footprint of your data source itself. Okay, so there's nothing you have to modify at your data source level in order to be compatible with Abstracta. You are already compatible, is what I would say. So just in summary, abstract away your API complexities using Abstracta. Focus on your business problems, not on APIs or data sources or how to connect to them. Forget all that. Leave that to Abstracta and you focus on your core business area. So that's kind of like a tagline for Abstracta, really. Many times after presenting in detail about the product, I typically get asked, what has Gartner said, anything supporting what you do? Are you in their magic quadrant? Before you jump to conclusions, I wanted to shout out that no, we are not yet there, but we want to be there because it would give us a lot of credibility and also a lot of managements accept only if our Gartner says so. So that's why we have the slide Gartner says. So what do they say? Essentially, they talk about low-code, no-code platforms and productization of data as part of emerging technology trends, which in many ways resonates with what we do with Abstracta. Abstracta, at the end of the day, is going to increase your pace in digitization by giving you a very high maturity level eventually. The journey thus far, it's been a very interesting journey. We started our origins as a pet project, really. When we actually started to build some RESTful web services just like anybody else against our Oracle data source, we didn't even think about auto generation of APIs at that time. It was purely meant to be like very simplistic services. But then when we started doing that more and more, we started to see what it could be if it were very generic and we were able to support 25 plus data connectors like we do today. How would it be if it had all this data governance capabilities, data security capabilities? And that vision actually transformed us into what we are today. It's a culmination of our decades of experience working in data platforms that require us to integrate data from so many data sources. Abstracta was not born overnight. Constantly questioning our status quo has been our bottom line. And this is actually the story of Abstracta really in a nutshell. To 2021, today, I'm very glad to announce that we are in MVP and we have a seed fund of $100K as of today, and we are a bootstrap startup as of now, as you know. 2022 is going to be very interesting for us. We are going to take it to the global market, and we want to be present in all such big marketplaces with all major cloud providers and whatnot. And we are striving hard to get there. And hopefully we will. And with all the support from the guys, folks that you are attending in this webinar, I'm hoping that you will give us that support to get us there. So to summarize segment 1 of this webinar, why Abstracta? By now you probably have a fair bit of idea like how Abstracta is an intermediary layer, data access layer that allows you to seamlessly and securely connect to all your data sources without ever having a deep understanding of them. right? It has various capabilities which we'll be touching upon, like data democratization, the automated versioning, documentation, testing capabilities that will be very handy for developing APIs. We have data governance policies, securities, and auto-generated data services, to name a few. We have presence in major cloud providers, Azure, AWS, and Google Cloud. And we are supporting various forms of democratization by allowing our data to be subscribed through an event-based data transitioning process. We call it subscriptions, through email, SFTP, and various other ways of connecting your data across various systems. We do support on-prem as well, based on request. And we are also aspiring to be in various marketplaces, like I said earlier. That will be sometime early 2022. The next question, the next big question you might have is, why now? What is so bad right now that we would need Abstractor, right? Before we answer that, this is poll time. Teji, if you could initiate poll 3, please.
Sure. Before that, Vikram, we have a question here by an anonymous attendee. Can this do the function of API GEE? Would you like to answer this?
Sure. Sure, I will touch upon this. The APG is a whole different ball game. I will touch upon this question, if you don't mind, towards the end of the session. And if you do not have time towards the end, I will certainly respond back to you offline.
No worries. I've launched the poll for everyone. Please participate. Thank you.
What are the digitization challenges you face? It's an interesting question, and I'm so glad that a lot of you are responding with, right now I see the standardization is this major challenge that you're outlining. Technology evolution. Great. Okay. I think I got a fair bit of idea where you guys are heading towards. It looks like technology, keeping up with the pace in technology is, you guys seem to think that that's where you are primarily challenged. Okay. Thank you so much, folks, for responding to these polls. It helps us understand the pulse of the audience, which is you. So the reason this question was asked is essentially to cover what are the problem areas that Abstracta is trying to address. And this is one of the famous questions that come up. What are your business challenges? What exactly are you trying to cover here? Digitization, as we all know, folks, we all recognize the need for it. It has thrown a lot of challenges, especially after the pandemic, but it has created a lot of opportunities as well. Right? We all recognize the need for it, and we all know how it can help us grow rapidly. Once you attain maturity, you still need to have a lot of good standardization practices to keep you there. But before you get there, you need to have a very good time to market, because time is of essence for your product. If you delay it, it might lose relevance. If you release it too early, it might not have enough capabilities built in to attract your audience. So you time your product very well, but you need a lot of good resources, expertise, and you need to do it all within your budget, which really crunches you for it challenges you heavily when it comes to time to market, especially when the technology keeps evolving as fast as it is doing today. You have changing tech stacks, that need additional learning. So you need to keep throwing in those learning sessions every now and then, keep your resources, up to date. And that will potentially increase your release cycle duration. But despite all this, if you do end up at a high maturity level, you still have to have a lot of standardization practices designed to keep you there, keep you afloat at that level. There's an interesting survey by Deloitte that talks about how organizations with high maturity levels have achieved 45% growth versus just the 15% growth by organizations with low maturity. And we all know there are also organizations that are just starting up and they really don't have that much maturity in them. So how do they fare really, right? This is a big question to answer, and the solution is Abstractor. Abstractor allows you to build that maturity level in quick time by giving you a head start and places you ahead of your competition. Now, we have covered quite a bit of how it does that. This is kind of reiterating what we have already covered before, the unification process, like having the ability to talk to all your data sources using a unified language, having a variety of data source connectors that we support, the rapid API creation that you could do. You could build an API in seconds, connecting to your data sources and auto discovering all your resources on the fly without any code. You could have policy-driven data security, that could be enforced with data policies and user profiling. And on top of that, you can do all this and still be able to share your data, in a secure way to your consumers. At the end of the day, your consumers are the ones who are going to be using your data. And being able to do that effectively brings in a lot of value for your data itself. Now it's time for a quick show and tell. And this time I'll be doing a very quick demo just to show a glimpse of what Abstracta is. If you're really intrigued and you want to know more, you're welcome to try out our YouTube channel where we have exhaustive demos that will allow you to understand the details of and the intricacies of Abstracta. Abstracta, like I said, has various playgrounds. Right now, I'm accessing the playground in GCP, the Google Cloud platform.
Vikram?
Yeah.
I'm sorry to disturb, Vikram. There is a quick question by Siva Kumar. Would you like to take it now or after some time?
Sure. The security part is an interesting question. I'm reading Siva Kumar's question. I'm from a financial institution. What security is guaranteed by Abstracta if I want to use this product? Abstracta does not store your data, just to be clear. There is no data storage layer in Abstracta. It does not store it anywhere in our system. It is merely a virtual layer that allows your consumers to connect to your data through its virtual layer, right? So that means there is no risk of data storage. The data also can be masked using our dynamic data masking capabilities, which I'll be demonstrating shortly. And that will allow your data to be seen or not seen, depending on your access levels. And when I say data, it is not just about securing access to your API levels. It can go as deep as your field. So you can define Shiva Kumar as an individual, which fields in the API you can access versus which fields you cannot access. So you can define those security rules using policies, and you can implement them effectively without any development or deployment effort. Hope that answers your question, but if you do have a follow-up, feel free to let us know. I'm moving on with the demo. When I sign in, Abstracta recognizes that I'm not in the system, so it allows me to register. When I register, it instantly starts provisioning a quick demo environment from our demo database. You can see it is provisioning resources on the fly. It is creating RESTful web services out of our demo database. It has created close to 16 or 17 resources in such quick time. We have overall 23 resources, and voila, it's done. So this is one of the biggest benefits of Abstracta, wherein you can spawn RESTful services on the fly in such quick time. So as you can see here, I got my demo data source. When I access it, I already have all the services pre-created from my demo data source. Now, when I go to the zone service, for example, I can see the data from the zone right away. And this is an instantly usable RESTful web service API that you can plug in into any of your applications. You can actually do a lot of data analytics stuff, like you can drill down. Like I said earlier, it understands your relationships. It has defined, it knows that your location number, for example, here has a foreign key, and it has given you a link to that service. So now your services are connected to each other. I can drill down and drill up on the data very easily. So I can do this, I can do a drill down from storage to tracking. This is a logistics data model, by the way, that we have provided as an example, but it can be applicable for any type of data source, doesn't matter really. Now, the next thing I wanted to cover is about how can we implement data securities. Sivakumar was asking earlier how data security works. So I'm going to quickly demonstrate how it works. I'm having a service called Books. You could see here that this is a scenario that we have made up. Obviously, it's not real data. So this one here, I'm hoping will demonstrate or make you understand how data security works in Abstracta. You have a company A, B, C, D, for example, and each company here has multiple franchises, A1, B1, C1, or B1, B2, C1, C2, like that, right? And then you have the sales amount column here, for example. The idea is that you're trying to demonstrate here is sales amount, let's call it the NPI attribute. Remaining fields are public. So how do I make sure that I only see the data that I'm allowed to see? Right now, you can see I can see all the companies A, B, C, and D, right? Now, the way we can achieve the row level data security is by applying a filter here. Before I do that, I go to the orgs, I create what is called as profiles, right? So I create a profile for company A. I create one for company B. And I create one for company C and D. And then I create profiles for franchise. Okay, so let's say I do just for variety, I'll do for B1. Just giving a description here. And then let's say I do for C2. Now I go to my users, and then I associate these profiles with my user ID. So let's say I'm allowed to see only company B and company C. Okay, so I have associated these two profiles with my user ID now. I go to services and I go to my books service. And right now I did not apply any filter yet, but I will be applying the filter shortly. So this is a SQL data source. So I'll use the SQL syntax. So I say profile : company. This might sound very technical, but really the idea is to make you understand how the row level data security works. If you have any questions, please feel free to shout out. So I applied the filter saying company name in profile : company. So when I refresh the screen, you can see I only see the companies B and C. I don't see any other companies. Right? So this is the first level of data security at a row level. Now, let's say there is another requirement where I'm owning only the B1 and the C2 franchises. So I should not be able to see the sales amounts of other franchises, which I don't own. Let's say if that's hypothetically, the requirement is such. What I do here is very simple. I go to the fields, I go to the sales amount, edit this data, and then I give this data security filter saying franchise name in profile : franchise. When I do this, and when I come back and search again, you can see the sales amount is hidden. I'm just quickly checking this filter. Right. So I'll go check my admin users. You can see here what profiles are associated with my ID. You can see I don't have franchise profiles. That's why all the columns were hidden. Now, if I go and add franchise B1 and franchise C2 profiles. Okay, so now I go back to services. Now you can see, I only see the data for the sales amount for franchise B1 and franchise C2. This is how simply the data security rules can be applied. And instantly, if there is another user, all I have to do is associate these profiles with those users, and we can implement dynamic data-driven security rules like this very easily using Abstracta. The other part of Abstracta is about how quickly you can set up your data sources. So I come here, for example, I can create a data source called Vikram DS, and then I can give it a description. I create a demo application. I give a JDBC URL. I give my credentials here and submit it. As soon as the data source is created, I'm running auto discovery, or I can choose to create services by myself. When I do auto discovery, Abstracta instantly creates all the data sources, just like it happened when I registered, but this time it is doing so for my own data source. You can see here, as we refresh, you can see the new services getting created on the fly. And it does so with knowing your data model. It knows your entities and relationships, and it is able to create all these things in just a few seconds, matter of seconds. This is not where it ends, right? What's the point of defining all these services if you are not able to use it anywhere or test it in your favorite testing tools, right? You have a tool called Postman, for example. So you can, many of you I'm sure are familiar with it, right? So you can actually export the entire org as a Postman collection, and you will be able to access these services that we created. It would import the collections. You can import those collections into Postman, and it will neatly create all these services as collections in your Postman project. And you would be able to run these scenarios where you generate this token, get the JWT token, and then pass it to your demo data sources and get the data. And you can see here that masking that I showed before is not just for the UI. It is also it's applicable for any channel through which you are accessing your data set. So here you can see that the sales amount is masked for B2 and C1 because I do not have access to it as a user. So this kind of concludes my the demo that I wanted to cover initially. Just to give you a very high-level overview of what Abstracta offers. But then there is more, and I urge you to try out a lot in terms of, you can register for free in our playground regions. You can choose the cloud provider of your choice and then register there. We will publish these URLs shortly after the meeting. So you can go through them and try to register and get used to the interface. If you like it, feel free to reach out to us. If you have comments, definitely reach out to us, especially if you have good things to say, please say it to others as well. So that will help us in getting more visibility.
Vikram, there is a question by TSK. I'm not sure which feature he was referring to, but he was asking if it falls under data privacy or not.
That's right. That seems to be a statement, then a question. I take it that it is a statement. Yes, this is kind of falling under data privacy, and in many ways it talks about data masking. You could mask your data based on dynamic data-driven rules. It's not just static masking of your fields based on your access levels. So yes, I think you have a point here. It does fall under data privacy.
Another anonymous attendee says profiles are set by admin and assignment of profiles are done by the Abstracta admin as well.
Yes, the Abstractor admin is not us, basically. Okay, this is just for the case of the demo that we demonstrated this functionality. But really, whoever created this data source from your organization, they would be the admins. We will have no access to your data source unless you explicitly grant access to us. So the way the access control works is you can configure as your data as a data source owner or an administrator, you can define or you can decide who you want to grant access to. So the profile setup is done by the organizational admins. The profile assignments are also done by the organization admins. And data source level configuration, again, is separately controlled through data source level access. I hope that answers it.
Sure. There is one last question by Sai Sirisha. We have other products similar to Abstracta, which may not support all cloud, but what is the major difference with reference to other products?
Okay, this is a great question. There are so many products, and I'm not going to lie saying that Abstracta is one of its kind or anything like that. But what is so good about Abstracta is that it is built purely based on our personal experience working in various areas. We have tried to get the goods from all such applications, and we have tried to create our own version of what we call data abstraction. So there might be other products that might be implementing data security in their own way. They might be having the subscriptions model or the data integration space. They might be implementing in their own way. But we have like an amalgam of all such good features that is built up into a single package product out of the box.
Thanks. One more question by N. Ismail. Does it work only for data source? Any other source system like Salesforce, SAP, mainframe, etc.?
We are looking to expand our data source connector integrations. As of today, we support over 25 connectors, and we are working on adding a lot more to this. And by next year, I'm thinking we should definitely have very commonly used connectors. We do have DB2 support as of today. I don't know about mainframe. I'm not sure if we are really going to target it for next year, but we do have plans to support SAP and the like by next year.
Thanks.
And I see a question from TSK again. Are you going as SaaS? Yes, yeah. It is a SaaS product. It's a subscriptions based product. So like I said, it's B2B SaaS. So you can subscribe to this and you can continue to use it as long as you need it. And it's purely based on your pricing plan. You'll be getting some quotas to use up, and then it's very typical subscription based model.
Another question by Anonymous. Can you connect to APIs as a source?
That's a very good question. Yes. Connecting to APIs as a source is definitely supported. If you have an open API defined elsewhere, for example, we did a POC with one client where we actually developed integrations with open APIs defined for COVID-19 related data. And we were able to connect to those data sources and provision Abstracta-based services. The advantage that it offers you is that you can talk to pretty much any of your sources, including these APIs, which have their own signatures with their own protocols. You without understanding that contract, you can still connect to Abstracta and talk as if you're talking to the other data source. So yeah, we do support connecting to APIs. Yeah, go on.
One more question by Subrit. Great policy managing interface. How about large set users? How they are managed from interface?
Can you repeat this question? I don't see it on my screen here.
Yeah, it's in the chat actually. Great
Oh, I
policy
see.
managing interface. I think that's a compliment.
Oh,
How about
right.
large set
Thank you.
users? He's asking how about large set of users,
Right.
how they are
Right.
managed from the interface.
Um, Thank you for the compliment. And regarding large set users, I'm assuming you're talking about when the number of users increase dramatically for the APIs. The process is still very same, and we haven't seen any degradation, if that is what you're concerned about in terms of performance. We are able to there are two perspectives when you're talking about huge data. Your number of users can be more, as well as your data itself could be very huge. And we have done extensive performance tests that tell us that our latency will be somewhere between 50 to 80 milliseconds is what we are looking at right now. And in terms of users, they are still managed from the interface. There's no difference there. Can we take another question?
Sure, I think there are many. This anonymous attendee is saying excellent tool. What about performance? Will there be any lag?
Yeah, like I said, we have a proprietary streaming technology that we have implemented that allows us to stream even millions of records of data through our APIs. So typically APIs are, especially the ones that are used or developed in web applications, they are developed for showing paginated data sets. But Abstracta can do that, as well as it can be used for data integration scenarios where you have millions of rows to be transferred from one system to another. So it kind of supports both in that sense.
And Sai Sirisha is saying, does it support only to cloud platforms?
No, it supports cloud platforms for sure, but it also supports on-prem. If you have a specific request for us to set it up in your on-prem environment, my team can work with you to set it up and make sure you have a working on-prem solution for your application.
And one
Just
question
update.
is by Srinivasa Bhogi. What are the supported output formats for API services?
Very good question. So API today we have support for JSON, XML, some delimited formats, text, Excel, and we are working on a variety of other formats which we'll be releasing in due course over the next couple of months. But as of today, these are the formats that we support.
I see there are no more questions. Can I quickly run a poll now?
Yes, please. Thank you, Teji.
Thanks. So it's a poll time. I request you all to please participate.
Okay, how much you spend on building APIs? I think this is the bottom line. Essentially, what we are really worried about normally. I'm looking at the responses, and it's really baffling that a lot of us are spending over $1 million for the APIs, and also incurring so much of technical debt that can really be zero if you were to use Abstracta. So let's cover a bit of how much Abstracta is going to be beneficial for you. Talking about the bottom line. Okay. I'm going to run through this real quick and probably let you have a look offline about how it can really help you. I'm not going to be talking in detail about this, but in essence, right, Abstracta is going to get you an ROI in 3 months based on our costing model. You would be spending $1 million for 6 power units elsewhere versus less than 250K for when you use Abstracta. So that is how powerful it is in terms of monetary benefits. There are also intangibles, right? A lot of times you don't realize how much they cost you as well. There's so many intangibles like data security, the auto-generated Swagger-based documentation, Postman collections, which I showed you, and the documentation itself, how documentation testing and and API testing is integrated into a single platform. That is something that can help you save costs as well. I have a hand raised from Chandrasekhar.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. Can you please unmute and talk? Chandrasekhar, you could unmute and talk now. Okay, seems to be having trouble unmuting. Maybe you could type your question if that's okay with you. I'm moving on with the subsequent slides. Talking about market fit, there isn't really a specific market segment that we are targeting, because anywhere you have data, anywhere you are looking at data as a product, anywhere you're worried about data quality, the data security, the data governance and the likes, definitely Abstracta will fit that industry. We're not limiting it to any specific, but just to list out a few, we have primarily logistics, IoT, fintech, smart cities, healthcare, e-commerce. But yeah, like I said, it's not limiting to these alone. The use cases, I wanted to give you a bit of idea about what use cases are generally tackled by Abstracta. A lot of this, you might have got a picture after seeing my demo, but still a very good use case that you can relate to it, that we can relate to it as consumers of food ordering apps. You can, for example, building an online food ordering app that stores its inbound orders in ActiveMQ, parses them in an Oracle database, notifies Slack once the order is processed. It's interesting to see Slack is a connector, and it's treated as a data source in Abstracta. It's how we can leverage Slack notifications to transform real-time notifications from one system to another in an actionable way. And streaming the data near real time to an analytical engine like Snowflake, and use your subscriptions process for that. These are but a few scenarios that I thought would help you relate or relate with what you have used as a consumer. There are also security scenarios, which I have already shown you, in the sense that restaurant manager should be able to see their orders, which is a classical row-level data security scenario. We have a franchise manager of a chain being able to see their books, but not of other franchises of the same chain. This is a field level data security scenario, again, something that I demonstrated today. Apart from this mobile and web apps, we have various data integration use cases for real-time data transfers. We have business managed databases that allow business users to make changes to their data. Sometimes they want to maintain it in their own way, and they learn your SQLs, the inserts, update, deletes, and whatnot, and they try to get familiar with it, and they include the tech team if they are having trouble with that, and they also use it to generate reports from time to time. But Abstracta can ease all that for them by providing a seamless, natural interface for them to navigate their data and maintain it as well through the CRUD operations. And last but not the least, we also have a use case where you could use Abstracta purely, not necessarily from an API standpoint. You could easily use it as a secure database client. That way you can get rid of your thick clients, for which I'm sure you're paying heavy license fees. Simply use Abstracta as your thin client. Just connect your data sources, execute some queries, and do your stuff. That it's that easy. And imagine you have a tool like Toad or SQL Navigator, through which when you execute a query, it applies filters seamlessly behind the scenes and shows only what you're supposed to see. It's as much as like creating a secure view around your data in your database. So these are classical use cases that we could think of. And I'm sure as product owners and leaders in your organizations, you probably could relate to many use cases than what I have shown here. These are just but a few. With this, I've completed my portion of the demo, and the slide says it right. Your feedback certainly matters, especially your negative feedback. If you have any, if you want us to improve in certain areas, not necessarily from the webinar perspective. If you want us to conduct it in a different way, or if you want us to improve as a tool, feel free to let us know. But certainly you should propagate the good things if you see any as well to your networks, and get us that platform to showcase our product. Thank you once again, and I'm handing over to Teji for her final closing comments. Teji.
Thank you so much, Vikram. It was such a wonderful and interactive session. Just a last question from Shiva Kumar. And I request Shiva Kumar, can you please email us your questions about financial institutions, security issues, or any new features that you're looking at? We'll be more than happy to interact with you one-on-one. And while wrapping up this webinar, I am very happy to say that your feedback was quite productive for us, whatever polls you have participated in. And I'm sure you will be happy to take the POC. And I encourage you all to at least take the POC, which is absolutely free, and make your development cycle in less time. Thank you so much once again. Anything else, if you need, you guys can connect us through messages or via email. We are online on LinkedIn as well. And of course, you can email us. Thank you so much. Off to PCC. Thank you.
Very great and very insightful, detailed session, I would say it was. And I would like to thank the audience also for being an active participant in terms of polling and in terms of asking questions. Well appreciated. Thank you. Thanks to Ekaha team for this wonderful session. Thank you. Thanks to the attendees as well.